Alright, we're recording. Uh, so, some news on the Linux side. I tried updating to Linux kernel 5.6 and I ran into some serious issues where my Wi-Fi wasn't working. And then I downgraded back to 5.5 and Wi-Fi still didn't work, so I don't know what the fuck's going on there. I was about to nuke it, but I managed to get 5.5 working. I managed to upgrade to 5.6.2 a couple days later. So now the Wi-Fi is working and the Bluetooth is working, but my Ethernet port on my piece of shit laptop is not. This is about a 10-year-old Dell Studio 1557. As you can see, it's got a Q70 and shit. It's fucking terrible. As far as laptops go, it works somewhat. So long as you're not editing a video, because Jesus Christ, that takes like 12 hours for just a 30-minute video. It doesn't matter if it's full HD or if I'm taking 4K and rendering it in, transcoding it to 1080p and then rendering it. Doesn't matter, it takes 12 hours. One thing I did do, and this is going to play into what I want to talk about today, is I upgraded the Wi-Fi card. Originally had a Realtek wireless N, I want to say, G or N, I don't remember. I have it somewhere over there. This was the card I updated it to almost immediately when I got the laptop. It's an AC 2x2 Wi-Fi card. I just upgraded it to an AX with, that one has Bluetooth 4.0. Excuse me, I'm really full. And I just had cookies, so I probably shouldn't have done that. This one has Bluetooth 5.0. And one of the things I've always liked about Dell is they don't put a whitelist in their BIOS. It doesn't matter if it's Toshiba, HP, even Lenovo. I've always had a problem where if I wanted to upgrade the disk drive to a Blu-ray drive, or literally anything in the laptop, especially disk drives, it was very hard to do that. Basically make a Franken laptop, because they would whitelist parts. If you did not buy the parts that they recommended, it would not work. It doesn't matter if you match the voltage, the connector, and everything else. If by all means it should work, that doesn't matter because the BIOS is literally blacklisting the shit out of any part that's not been pre-approved by the company. And so that's why I don't buy from HP, Toshiba, or Lenovo. I just won't. The problem now has come to the point where laptops are being geared towards gamers and not so much content creators. And the laptops that are geared towards content creators, let me shut this down right here, they're forcing you to buy Intel. And I don't like being forced into something I don't fucking want. And so, if you go on any website with laptops, Dell, Toshiba, you'll notice that if you want a 4K screen, because maybe you're doing content creation and you want a higher resolution screen and you don't give a shit about having a display that's more than 60 Hertz because you're just drawing and shit, and 4K actually can help with that. Or maybe you're just typing and, you know, you want more clarity when you're reading text and shit. 4K can also help with that, even on a laptop screen. You're going to be forced to buy an Intel processor. Hang on a second. Cleaning up the cookie crumbs over here. If you want a laptop with a RTX Quadro, you're forced to buy an Intel processor. If you want a laptop with more than 32 gigs of RAM, yeah, Intel. And that's kind of what I want to talk about, because AMD just released the 4000 series CPUs, GPU combo, they're APUs actually. They have the CPU and GPU combined. But the problem is, from what I can tell online, I can't tell from their main page, so maybe it's just the manufacturers, but based on anything I can find that's credible. The CPU's max APU's whatever, I can't fucking tell the difference. It's got a built-in graphic card, so it's an APU, but Jesus fucking Christ. The point is, it can't handle more than 32 fucking gigs of RAM. Now, the problem is, it's competing with the 9900 HK, whatever the fuck it is, Intel's fucking thing. But I would compare it more to a Xeon mobile laptop processor, simply because the 4000 series can do ECC RAM, but I don't know why you would want to when you can't put more than 32 gigs of RAM in it. I don't know what the fuck AMD is doing on the laptop side, honestly. I mean, they've been doing really well with the desktop side, especially the server side. But it seems laptops, they just, well, they missed an opportunity here. Because if you need more than 32 gigs of RAM, even though the AMD can beat it in many workloads and actually is a better processor for the money, and it's going to make your computer cheaper, you can't put more than 32 gigs of RAM in it, so what's the fucking point? It seems like AMD laptops are meant for gamers, because if you're a content creator, there's a really good chance 32 gigs of RAM doesn't mean shit. It really doesn't. And I don't know what the fuck's going on with laptops recently. I made a video called Intel's Garbage a while back. Yeah, I'm aware. While yes, Melter and Specdown did also affect AMD, everything else, Zombie Load 2, Intel Management Engine, which Intel's in the fucking name, it's the management engine in there, and a bunch of others that have come to light, there's well over 10 I think now, are Intel specific. Takeaway is the only one I know of that affects AMD. So, AMD is just far less vulnerable, and they're cheaper. Of course I'm going to buy something in it, especially if it can compete or beat the Intel counter side. The problem is, if I'm doing content creation, it's kind of a deal breaker not to have, well, I think the Intel parts can do, well, I don't know if they're APUs because their fucking built-in graphics suck. The point is, the Intel ones can do up to 128 gigs of fucking RAM. And when you combine that fact with everything else, you know, they're forcing you to buy an Intel one if you want a Quadro, if you want a 4K screen. It's just a fucking mess. It really is. My YouTube channel again. There was a laptop called Apex 15 I recently came across, and this one takes the cake as being one of the dumbest fucking laptops I've ever seen in my life. And I'll show you why. So, this is one of those laptops that for some dumb reason decided, one, it's in euros, so you're gonna have to convert that shit to American. That's not remotely the problem. Fucking configurator here. The problem is, it doesn't matter if you put in a 2060 or a 2070, why the fuck would you put more than a Ryzen 5 with either of those graphics cards? I mean, 3700X, maybe. I don't know. I think, but I definitely wouldn't put a fucking 3900 12-core processor or 3950 16-core processor with a 2070, let alone a 2060. Also, if we're using those processors, you're gonna have a performance hit using any of these 2066 RAM. You would at minimum need 3200, but if you're doing 3200, you max out at 32 gigs. So here we are again, where this is terrible for content creation, and also just terrible in general, because anything more than, I would say, 3700X would probably create a bottleneck. I don't know, I haven't actually tested that. I mean, it's nice that you can get the keyboard, and holy shit, that's a lot of languages here. So they did that right, but what I really like is this. You can have no operating system, which more uh, laptop manufacturers need to do. And if you just want a sleek laptop with no logos or badging, it's going to cost you $30, but sure, you can do that. So that's cool. So they do some things right here. Uh, Mainly if you're working with Blender, it helps if you can't really see it from that angle actually. Let's see if you can see it from this one. It has a numpad. Not many laptops have that, and if you're using Blender, having a numpad actually can come in handy, because let me tell you, trying to learn Blender with just the top row numbers is a fucking wing. Especially on a laptop that's not made for content creation. So you have that issue where many laptops are just doing that. And then you got Dell, the one I love the most, that I now fucking hate. And here's why. Ready for this shit? Oh, here it is, products. So let's go to laptops, let's go for home. And this is actually a common trend, that's not just a Dell. First of all, why did it hide the filter? I don't know. Okay, so we got Intel Celeron, Pentium, i3, i5, i7, i9, Ryzen 3, 5, 7, Ryzen in general, AMD processor. Apparently they haven't updated to the newest ones. I don't know when they plan to. But you'll notice, tried and true, none of these have a Radeon graphics processor in it. None of these have 4K resolution displays. As you can see, they want you... Dell is really one of those companies where if you want a Quadro or even a GTX card, no, I don't fucking want to talk to a representative. Or even if you want, just a good laptop, you're forced to buy Intel. Lenovo. Same shit. Also, Dell now has this weird thing where some of their laptops, the only difference really is the processor, whether it's Intel or AMD. But they'll only let you have the backlit keyboard as an option if you buy Intel. That's another thing I've noticed Dell started doing for some fucking reason, where they start taking features. Basically, they take a laptop, and they give you all the features if you're using Intel, but they strip almost all the good features away if you use AMD. So, fuck Dell, I'll never buy another computer from them. I really won't. This Studio 1557 will be the last Dell I ever fucking buy. Simply because of the bullshit I've noticed them pulling. Lenovo. Let's go to laptops. Also, who the fuck designed the site? Filter by spec should be the first. This is dumb. So they don't have the newest Ryzen yet, but they're one of the better ones as far as giving you options. Some options anyways. They're definitely better than Dell. I'm gonna be honest. That's really not hard to do. But again, if you want... As you can see, they don't even get into the different options of AMD here. They're just like, do you want all these Intels? Do you want a MediaTek? Do you want another Intel? Or do you want AMD? A lot of love, I've noticed. Almost like they're getting paid off. Again, you can't get a 4K screen with Intel. without Intel. And yeah, no no NVIDIA graphics either. So fuck Lenovo. HP seems to be doing the best, but the problem is the whitelist BIOS bullshit. I'll always hate them for that. I don't know if they're still doing it. Last time I checked, they were. But then again, the last time I checked was like 4 years ago, so maybe they have, but I fucking doubt it. It's HP. So basically, the only thing that's really blocked here is, well, you can see the high-end workstation shit, basically. So I'll go down here to graphics. At least I can get GeForce, but I'm limited to this one, which that's actually not that bad of a configuration, honestly. But $1,200 for last gen is a little pricey, and but at least it. Let's see what it has. A disk drive? No, that is not a disk drive. I don't think it is, anyways. So you could do some Blender on it because at least it has a numpad or work. It's got an SD card, ports. There we go. So it's got a USB-C, Ethernet, HDMI. Why is it on that side? Who the fuck knows? Where's the other side? Yeah, there it is. On that side, you just have a barrel plug for the power and a USB. Well, it's done. And if you go to workstations, you got this bullshit, this bullshit, this bullshit. But the one I like the best is this one. This literally has almost everything I could want. Here's where the catch comes in. Let's see if I can get to the configurator. Customize them by I hate this shit. So here's where I'm going to give HP credit for. Ready for this? I can take off $232 by having FreeDOS instead of Windows. More companies, if you're not going to offer Linux on your high-end shit, which this is another reason why I hate Dell, by the way. If you want a Linux laptop, you have to buy the lowest grade shit there is on their fucking website. None of their high-end laptops have it as an option. And that is fucking bullshit. And I've actually talked to them about that on the phone, that is fucking bullshit, and I've called them out on it right on the phone. I don't care. If you're gonna make me pay for fucking Windows, when I'm never gonna fucking use it, you can go fuck yourself, and you're gonna lose a customer. Because I refuse to pay for something that I'm never going to use. Yeah, sure, I'm never going to use FreeDOS, but at least I'm not fucking paying for it, which is a great thing. And that's really where I feel Dell has gone to shit, is out of all the laptop companies, they are behind everyone else in terms of hardware. I know some people might disagree with that, but it's true. They don't offer AMD and RTX graphics, because why the fuck wouldn't you? I don't understand that decision for the life of me. AMD laptops are stripped down in so many fucking features, it's not funny. And the fucking laptops they offer with fucking Linux is a fucking joke. It really is. It's like, no, you can't buy what you need. You are forced to buy this shit if you want Linux. Granted, you can put Linux on anything, but that's beside the point. I'm forced to pay for fucking Windows and then argue with you for reimbursement of that shit. And so this is where I'm going to give HP credit where credit is due, because taking the $232 off is actually really good. Here's where I'm going to give them shit. And I understand why they did this, by the way. And it's because I just told you. AMD is not an option in terms of workstations because of the fact that you just simply... what is this one? Full HD 4K. So, let's say I wanted to go Quadro. I'm not actually going to buy this, I'm just pointing out something here. So, I'm at like a $5,000 laptop. I'm not paying for Windows, so that's a plus. I could fuck around with FreeDOS, I guess. It actually gets better. Camera. Let's say I don't want a webcam. I can just buy one, right? Cool. I just saved some money. But here's the fucking thing. Up to 128 gigs of RAM. If you are actually buying a workstation, you do not have an option. You really don't have an option other than Intel, because AMD is not really an option here, and you can actually get 128 gigs of ECC RAM from Newegg, I think it is, has it, and it's cheaper than what they're offering. So I would go none, because I would rather put a Samsung Evo in there if I was going to do this. And then I just buy cheap SATA, why not? And then just put a hard drive and shit in it. I also like the fact that they got a Blu-ray right out of the box. And if you don't want a Blu-ray, you can put another thing in there. Dual point backlit spill resistant. This is cool. NFC. $9, why not? We already saved some money. This is actually the Wi-Fi card I just put in my laptop right here. The AX200. You can put mobile broadband if you want it to connect your LTE. Save $11 because I don't need a fingerprint reader. Why the fuck would you need that? I honestly don't know. Use a password. It's actually protected by the Constitution. Oh, cool. Red Hat. Apparently, some other shit. Point is, it's a $5,000 laptop, but if this is the type of laptop you need, I'm going to give HP credit for offering FreeDOS. So if you're a Linux user, you're not paying for Windows. That's actually really good. And it's not really them I'm giving shit for the fact that I can only buy something like that with an Intel processor. I'm giving AMD shit here. Even though I love AMD, they've always been my favorite company. I'm gonna give them shit because, yeah, you just made a great fucking workstation, excuse me, APU in the 3900H and HS. But the fact is, the RAM can't match the, what was that fucking processor? The amount of RAM you can shove into those. Disabled. You know, the amount of RAM you can shove into this shit is fucking abysmal on the AMD side. It really is. So 98880, jeez fucking Christ, Intel. i9, you can read it right here, or the Xeon. The thing is, even though the Ryzen 9 4000 series can compete with this. Where it can't is this one can't do ECC RAM, you have to go to a Xeon. With Ryzen, it can just do ECC. The problem is you're limited to 32 gigs, based on what I can find. And for a workstation, that's fucking joke. You're going to use a lot more than 32 fucking gigs of RAM. And I think that's what AMD needs to work on if they really want to win the laptop space, because Intel is going to continue to succeed in workstation laptops so long as AMD keeps their head up their ass. I don't know why you would release a new product without realizing that, and I am going to tag them in this video and hope that someone there watches it, because Jesus fucking Christ, what the fuck did you do? I mean, you pretty much beat Intel in the laptop because you've made something competitive, but at the same fucking time, it's not really competitive in the work aspect, even though you're aiming this as content creators, because content creators are going to need more than 32 gigs of RAM. And if your processor can only handle 32 gigs, you've gimped yourself. You've effectively entered a race and cut off your fucking leg at the last second. And I honestly don't know what to say from there. I mean, it's just constant shit after constant shit in the laptop space where you're forced to buy shit you don't want. Nothing's ever really customizable. And if you're actually trying to get work done, it's just better to get a desktop at this point and build it yourself. And I've personally noticed in the years I've been around, I'm almost 30. This bed is fucking sucks. Cheap piece of shit from IKEA. That what used to be competitive and used to have good options is no longer the case. There are no good options for laptops anymore, really. There just aren't. You're forced to buy Windows. There's no fucking option unless you buy used. In which case, that's actually better because it's going to be cheaper. And you're just forced to pay for shit you don't want in general. And if you want something from a certain company, well, you're going to be forced to go to another company because the company you like Dell, for example, isn't going to give you the options you want. In fact, they're going to take options away. And this just seems to be a continuing trend, and I'm pretty sure it's because Intel realizes they're losing and they're probably paying people off at this point. I don't know. It's speculation, but I wouldn't put it past them, honestly. I don't see why you would be doing anti-competitive shit like this, where I can't buy a 4K screen unless I buy an Intel processor. I can't get an RTX graphics card unless I buy an Intel processor. I can't get a backlit keyboard on my laptop, and this all applies to Dell, by the way, unless I buy an Intel processor. There are constant examples of that on their site, and there has been for the past 3 years. And quite frankly, I'm fucking sick of it, and I'm not going to buy another laptop from Dell because of it. But at the end of the day, I don't think I'm going to buy another laptop in general because of all this anti-consumer bullshit. The flaws I have with HP aren't really that big in the grand scheme of things compared to the problems I have with Dell now and everyone else. But if I were to buy a laptop from anyone nowadays, it probably would be HP. The problem is, I don't want to buy an Intel processor because they're just so riddled with security flaws. But I don't really have an option if I want a workstation now, do I? No, I don't. And it's AMD's fault. They're going to lose the workstation market because of this bullshit. And it fucking sucks to see. It really does. But it seems like in the course of gaming laptops, AMD's probably going to take a big chunk out of Intel, and good for them. But I wish they would have done better. I really do. I'll see you guys in the next video.